Okay, I want you to do something for me just for a second. Close your eyes. Well, don't close your eyes if you're driving, obviously. But I want you to picture the word control, like real societal control. If a government or some powerful group wanted to control a population, what does that look like in your head?
I think for most people, the image is pretty standard.
Right. It's loud. I'm picturing iron bars. I'm picturing soldiers in the street, shouting orders.
And yeah, force.
Maybe a literal sword if we're going way back in history. It's the boot on the neck.
That is the traditional image, coercion,
Yeah,
physical restraint.
exactly. But I've been reading through this stack of sources we have for today, specifically this strategic guidance document on the media sector, and this really haunting set of lyrics called "Which Side Feeds the Fire?" And they completely dismantle that image.
Hmm.
The realization that hit me, and honestly it's kind of been stuck in my head all morning, is that modern control isn't loud at all. The sources say it's tuned, it's turned down.
It is a fascinating and, frankly, somewhat unsettling distinction. We're doing a deep dive today into how media has evolved, and we aren't just talking about the news or, your TikTok feed. We're talking about media as a reality-shaping infrastructure.
And the sources frame this discussion as part of a context called the 1% Club, which, just to be clear, isn't some VIP lounge you pay to get into, but more a framework for thinking about how the world actually operates versus how we're told it operates. And the core question today is this. If control isn't a boot on the neck anymore, what is it?
Well, the lyrics you mentioned pose the question perfectly. Who feeds the fire? But to answer that, we have to look backward. The media sector document, it actually starts with a history lesson, but it's framed in a very specific way.
Yeah, the old way. I actually found this part kind of funny in a dark way. It describes how power used to work.
Well, think about it. If you were a king or an emperor or a religious authority 500 years ago, how did you get people to do what you wanted? You couldn't send a push notification.
You had to be dramatic. You needed symbols, big ones.
Precisely. You used, as the source puts it, flags in the daylight. You used pageantry. You used words repeated into sight.
There's a line in the lyrics that it captures this perfectly. Crowns fell quiet, gods grew thin.
It is such a poetic way of describing a massive mechanical shift. In the old world, power was visible. You saw the crown, you saw the army, you saw the church spire.
You knew exactly who was in charge.
And where the orders were coming from.
It almost feels, primitive, doesn't it? Like looking at a museum exhibit, we look back at those people and think, wow, look how easily they were manipulated by a guy in a fancy hat holding a scepter. We like to think we're way smarter than that now.
And that arrogance is exactly where the trap lies. The source highlights this specific transition point, what it calls the illusion of progress.
Explain that, because I definitely feel like we've progressed. I mean, we have antibiotics and iPhones.
We have technological progress, yes. But the source argues we confuse that with moral or psychological progress. By the 19th century, humanity kind of looked around and thought, we've arrived. We had science, industry, reason. We thought we had outgrown those primitive stories and symbols.
But then the 20th century happened.
And the 20th century proved, quite brutally, that technological sophistication does not equal maturity. We didn't grow out of propaganda just because we invented the radio.
You just industrialized it.
Exactly, we scaled it. And this is the crucial pivot point in the document. Media didn't disappear as a tool of power when we became modern. It just evolved. It went from swords and open fights to something much, much harder to see.
The lyrics call it soft control. Screens replace the throne and cross crowns. Soft control, invisible cost. That phrase, soft control, really freaks me out.
Why's that?
Because when control is hard, like a soldier blocking a road, I know I'm being controlled. I can decide to fight it or run away. But soft control, I might not even know what's happening.
That's the invisible cost. When control is baked into the environment, it's just the water you swim in. You don't question the water.
No order given, no command, just stories shaped by unseen hands. It sounds a little bit like a conspiracy theory, though, Like there's a secret room, people writing the script for my life.
I'm glad you brought that up because the source is very adamant that this is not about tinfoil hats. It's not about a conspiracy. It's about infrastructure.
Okay, so unpack that. If it's not a secret cabal, how does it work?
We have to change our definition of what media does. Most people think media reports on reality. Here's what happened today. The thesis of these sources is that modern media competes to define reality.
Competing to define reality, that's a heavy concept.
It means that in a world of information overload, the truth isn't determined by what is most historically accurate or scientifically proven. It's determined by what is most present.
Repetition.
Repetition is truth. The lyrics break this down with terrifying simplicity. Say it softly, say it slow, say it long enough until we don't know.
Until we don't know. That's the key, isn't it? It's not about convincing you with a logical debate. It's about exposure.
Correct. I mean, think about how your brain works. It's a pattern recognition machine. If you see a piece of information once, you might doubt it. If you see it on Twitter, then hear it on a podcast, then see a headline about it on a news site, your brain stops treating it as information and starts treating it as environment.
So it becomes a fact simply because it's everywhere.
It becomes lived reality, even if it's totally false. And the source explicitly states, this isn't about logic. The silence is designed. The things you don't see are just as important as the things you do.
That line in the lyrics, who feeds the fire and calls it signal? That gave me chills.
Yeah.
Because we're all desperate for a signal, right? We're drowning in noise. You want to know what's real. And the source is saying that what we think is the signal might just be the fire.
The lie has force. That is a critical insight from the text. We often think of lies as flimsy things that fall apart when touched by the truth. But in this system, the big lie, as the lyrics call it, has momentum. It has weight. It's not just a falsehood. It becomes a structural element of our day-to-day lives.
It's wrapped in truth we're meant to share. That's the insidious part. It's not 100% fake. It's just twisted. Not spoken loud, but said with care.
And this is where we have to get concrete. Because if we just talk about the media as this vague cloud, we miss the point. We need to talk about the people making it.
Right. The media creators, the influencers, the journalists, the YouTubers, people like us, honestly. And I have to ask, are they the villains here? Because sometimes it feels like they are. I see people online spreading rage bait, clearly trying to get people angry. And I just think, you are the problem.
Easy to think that. But the document on media creators instructs us to look at them differently. It says we shouldn't talk to them about their content, but talk about them as participants in a system.
So it's the don't hate the player, hate the game argument. I don't know, that feels like a cop-out.
It's not a cop-out, it's a mechanical reality. Look at the section on audience capture. This is a very real, documented phenomenon.
Audience capture, I've heard that term, but walk me through how it actually works.
Yeah, okay, so imagine a creator, let's say a YouTuber, starts out wanting to explain complex history. They make a nuanced, balanced video. It takes them 2 weeks to research. They post it. It gets, 5,000 views?
Okay. Not bad, but not viral.
Then, one day, they get frustrated. They post a sloppy, angry rant about a current political event. They shout a bit. They leave out all the nuance. That video gets 500,000 views.
The algorithm picked it up because people were engaging with the anger.
Exactly. The dashboard shows them a massive green arrow. Good job, the system says. Do that again. So they do it again and again. Slowly, the algorithm trains the creator. It rewards the distortion and it punishes the nuance.
So the creator isn't driving the car, the analytics are.
Precisely. The creator thinks they are expressing themselves, but they're actually being molded by that feedback loop. They stop asking, is this true? And start asking, will this fly?
That is just depressing.
It's the trap mentioned in the source. You wake up one day and you realize you aren't an author anymore. You're just an employee of the algorithm.
The document talks about identity and meaning. It says the shift is from I express something real to I optimize for reach.
And just think about what that does to a human soul. The lyrics capture this perfectly. We asked for answers. We got a story. Moral words covering private glory.
Moral words covering private glory.
Wow, that sums up so much of social media. People posturing, using all the right buzzwords, acting like they're saving the world, but really they're just chasing clout.
Or simply trying to survive. I mean, if your rent depends on views and the system only pays for fire, you're going to feed the fire. It's not necessarily malice. It's survival within a broken incentive structure. So we have a system where soft control shapes reality through repetition. We have creators who are trapped in a loop of audience capture, feeding us distortion because that's what pays. And now we have to talk about the new variable.
The accelerator.
AI. Now, usually when we talk about AI and media, everyone panics. The robots are going to lie to us, deep fakes. But the source takes a surprisingly nuanced view here.
It does. It stresses that AI is not the villain. AI is an amplifier.
Wait, hold on. You're saying AI isn't the villain because when I look at voice cloning and automated bot farms, it feels pretty villainous. It feels like the machine is doing the lying.
It feels that way, sure.
Yeah.
But look at the source text again. It calls AI an amplifier, not an author.
And amplifier.
Think of it this way. If you scream a lie into a megaphone, do you blame the megaphone for being loud?
I blame the guy holding it.
Right. AI didn't invent narrative manipulation. Humans did that with crowns and crosses thousands of years ago. We did it with newspapers. We did it with TV. AI just takes the mechanics we've already built, the repetition, the pattern recognition, the emotional triggers, and scales them to infinity.
So it takes what we're already doing and puts it on steroids.
Exactly. The danger isn't the tool itself. The danger is what the tool is being fed. The source notes that AI can amplify truth, nuance, and synthesis just as efficiently as it can amplify distortion.
But because we're currently in a system, that audience capture system we just talked about, that rewards distortion.
AI becomes the ultimate distortion machine because that is the data it is being trained on. It leads us right back to that central recurring question of this entire deep dive. If AI is just an engine, what are we pouring into the tank?
Who feeds the fire?
And who feeds the fire and calls it signal?
It's scary to think that we might be feeding it the very things that will confuse us even more. Like, we're building a machine to confuse ourselves faster.
We call it failure. They call it control. The source suggests that what looks like a broken information ecosystem to us, the chaos, the noise, the anger, might actually be a functioning system of control.
That's a chilling thought, a necessary fiction to govern the whole.
It forces us to ask, what if the chaos isn't a bug? What if it's a feature? If you keep people fighting over stories shaped by unseen hands, they never look at the hands. They never look at the infrastructure.
So where does that leave us? I mean, we've gone from kings with swords to algorithms with soft control. We've seen how creators get tracked in the game. We see AI waiting in the wings to crank the volume up to 11.
It brings us to the outro. And per the source material, we need to be very careful here.
Yeah, I feel like this is the part where we usually say, so here are 5 tips to reclaim your attention span. Or delete your apps.
And we are not going to do that. The source explicitly says to leave the listener with the uncomfortable reality. No solutions. No calls to action.
Why? That feels, I don't know, cruel.
Because offering a quick fix is just another story. It's another flag in the daylight. The whole point of this deep dive is to see the system, not to pretend we can fix it with a life hack.
It all comes back to that refrain in the lyrics, which side feeds the fire. And the scariest part of the lyrics for me was towards the end. What if the mirror is the state?
What if we learned this pattern late?
That line suggests that this isn't just about them. It's not just the big media companies or the tech bros or the government. It's you, it's me.
Every click, every share, every time we choose comfort over truth. Every time we accept a story because it confirms what we already believe, rather than seeking out the facts, we are feeding the system.
No smoke without hands, no noise without will. That line indicts everyone. Every flame is fed by someone standing still.
It reminds us that passivity is a form of action. If you see the big lies, you see the distortion, and you accept it because it's convenient, or because, say it's for good, say it's for tonight, that is an active choice to feed the fire.
I think about that constantly now when I retweet something without reading the article. When I watch a video that makes me angry just to feel the rush, I am the fuel.
Whether consciously or not, you are always building something. You're always feeding something. The algorithm is watching you just as closely as it watches the creator.
We don't choose the world entire, only what we choose to wire.
That is the thought I want our listener to stay with. In a world of infinite noise, your attention is the only currency that matters. It is the fuel.
We call it failure. They call it control.
It really makes you wonder, who is they? And are we sure they isn't just us looking in the mirror, terrified of what we've built?
Who feeds the fire? It's the big lie. Every signal feeds a flame.
Different masks. The same old game.
We're going to leave it there. No answers today. Just the question. Which side are you feeding?
Silence is the only appropriate response.
Thanks for listening.
Grounds fell quiet. Gods grew thin. Grounds fell quiet. Gods grew thin. Stories learn to wear new skin. No swords now, no open fight. Just words repeated into sight. not forced, not bound, just tuned, turned down. Who feeds the fire when truth runs dry? Who feeds the fire and calls its signal? Who feeds the fire again, again? Screens replace the throne and cross. Soft control, invisible cost. No order given, no command. Just stories shaped by unseen hands. No law, no chains, just echoed names. Who feeds the fire when facts grow tired? Who feeds the fire and names a choice? Who feeds the fire with voice? No smoke without hands, no noise without will. Every flame is fed by someone standing still. Who feeds the fire? Who feeds the fire? Who feeds the fire? Every signal feeds a flame, different masks, the same old game.